We are moving on to a 360-degree view of the Spanish iGaming market. Now, this is going to be delivered by Daniel Stone of Gambling Compliance. Gambling Compliance, as many of you will know, is the leading source of regulatory news and research for the industry. So, Daniel, over to you, and we're all looking forward to it. Thank you. You're going to come here.
Tom, do we have the switcher for the slides? Hi everyone, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. My name is Daniel Stone. I work as Head of Data Content at Gambling Compliance, as Tom said. Some of you will have heard of us. We provide business intelligence solutions to the global gambling industry. I'm here to provide a brief presentation analysing some trends in the Spanish online gambling market. Apologies in advance for the scripted nature of this presentation. There's just too many numbers here for me to remember. So we'll quickly go into a snapshot by GGR here. So here we can see that overall Spanish online GGR surpassed 600 million euros in the year to June 2018, rising 36% year on year to 644 million euros during this period. This was driven by 44% growth in online casino GGR to 206 million euros, with revenue from slot games climbing 55% to 107.6 million euros and overtaking online table games. Online betting revenue increased by 36% to 350 million euros during the year ending June 2018, boosted by the impact of this summer's FIFA World Cup and also by favourable margins in the fourth quarter of 2017. Taking a longer-term view, we can see that the regulated Spanish market has grown by around 190%, almost trebling since its first full year of operation ending June 2013, when overall annual online GGR settled at 223 million euros. Compound annual growth in total online GGR has accelerated from 10% over the market's first 3 years of operation, so the year ending June 13 going up to the year ending June 15, to 34% in its most recent 3 years of operation, boosted by the introduction of online slot games in summer 2015 and consistently strong sports betting growth of 30% or more since 2015. So here we can see the split of GGR by product. Betting and casino games represented 86% of overall online GGR in the year ending June 2018, versus 61% in the licensed market's first year of operation ending June 2013. Betting products, including horse racing and exchanges, accounted for 54% of total online GGR in the latest full year period. This ratio has actually remained quite steady at between 52 and 57% since 2014, despite the increased importance of online casino. Casino games accounted for 32% of overall online GGR in the same period, up from 30% in the year ending June 2017, and just 13.5% in the market's first year of operation. So despite that, online casino remains a smaller part of the market than in more mature jurisdictions like the UK and Italy, but it has still significantly grown its share in recent years due to the ramp-up of slot games since 2015 and continued strong growth from table products led by live roulette. So here we have some context around that market size figure, setting Spain against some comparable locally licensed markets in Europe. I've left the UK out of this because the UK is just too big. It kind of dwarfs everyone else in terms of market size. So Spain is actually the fourth largest locally licensed online gambling market in Europe after the UK, Italy, and France. We may see it move down to fifth next year when the Swedish regulated market launches in January. If we adjust for population, however, Spain is somewhat undersized, as we can see in this chart, which potentially could suggest meaningful scope for further growth, forthcoming restrictions on gambling advertising notwithstanding. So regulated online GGR per capita of 12 euros during 2017 in Spain was significantly lower than Italy and Greece, and in line with ratios observed in France, where the market suffers from a high betting tax and a ban on online casino, and Portugal, where the turnover-based betting tax is even higher. The market only launched in 2016, and there's been quite limited adoption of licenses since then. So following on from some of the discussions this morning, I'm now going to quickly touch upon the issue of promotional expenditure on online gambling in Spain. Again, in light of current news and some of the discussions we've already heard today. This is a bit more of a complicated chart. I'll try to describe it. So the Spanish DGOJ is one of the few online gambling regulators to publish statistics on the promotional expenditure of the industry, which will obviously now receive greater attention than usual due to the proposal to restrict gambling advertising in Spain. The chart we can see in this slide shows year-on-year growth in three variables reported by the DGOJ on a quarterly basis. Firstly, promotional expenditure on advertising, player bonuses, affiliates, and sponsorship. Secondly, the number of new accounts created during the period. And thirdly, total online GGR. So that's year-on-year growth in those three variables from quarter to quarter. The data shows that while the year-on-year change in promotional spending is positively correlated with equivalent growth in both new account creation and total GGR, it is more strongly correlated with growth in new account creation. So we've tended to see growth in the registration of new accounts accelerate when promotional spending accelerates. You can see the big spike around the Euro 2016 tournament a couple of years ago. Concurrent growth in new account creation and promotional spending there. However, year-on-year growth in online GGR has actually been a bit more stable and not so reliant on promotional spending from quarter to quarter. So year-on-year growth in online GGR has actually remained above 20% quite stubbornly over recent years, even during periods of declining promotional spending, such as the first 9 months of 2017, you can see towards the right of the chart there. I think it's difficult to draw solid conclusions from this data, but I suppose it's reasonable to predict that any crackdown on gambling advertising, at least in the near term, would have a greater impact on Spanish operators' customer acquisition capabilities rather than on near-term GGR growth. So we'll move on. I think maybe the most interesting aspect of this Spanish data is we have a case study of what happens when we introduce online slot games to an existing online casino market limited to table products only. Dating back to that launch in summer 2015 that I mentioned, we've seen the important role that online slot games have had in driving overall growth since 2015. And these next few slides are just aimed at contextualizing that ramp up, looking at growth in online slots versus a similar launch of slot games in Italy from December 2012, and some recent trends in land-based gaming machine turnover in Spain. So here we're comparing online casino GGR in Spain versus Italy, and the Italian launch year is 2013, and for Spain it would be the year ending June 2016. So we have 3 years after launch year. Yeah, you get the picture. The chart shows that although the launch of online slots in Spain has had a larger impact than it had in a similar scenario in Italy, starting 6 years ago, the Spanish online casino market of today remains significantly smaller than the Italian market at a similar stage, and that's even on a population-adjusted per capita basis. The Spanish online slot launch has grown overall online casino GGR by 343%, from 46.5 million euros in the year to June 2015 to 206 million euros in the year to June 2018. An equivalent growth in Italy, obviously from a higher base, was 123%, from 147 million in 2012 to 328 million in 2015. So this table shows some comparable KPIs between those two markets. And year one obviously applies to the year when online slots were launched in Italy and Spain, respectively. One thing that's worth noting perhaps is the data in this table shows that online slots have not cannibalized online table game GGR in Spain, which, as I've referenced, has been performed really robustly, in part due to the strong growth in live roulette GGR. We did see some cannibalization, however, in Italy during 2013 and 2014. Casino GGR excluding slots fell by 18% in 2013 and then 14% in 2014, following the addition of slot games to licensed offerings. So that's a key point of differentiation between Spain and Italy in this case. It also shows that online casino games still represent a relatively low proportion of total online GGR in Spain, at 32% in the most recent full year ending June 2018. Again, that's partly due to the really robust growth in sports betting overall, which means that it's, online casino, around a third of the market. That's quite low generally in European terms, at least in terms of licensed markets. The equivalent penetration in Italy during 2015, the third full year of online slots, was 41%. I think that's grown incrementally closer to 50% in the interim. So I mentioned I was going to also look at some land-based trends. This is kind of tricky. The data that the DJJ publishes on land-based gaming trends is not quite complete. We have data from some of the largest autonomous communities, but the data on Type B machines is incomplete. So the data in this chart does reflect estimates, but I think the trends shown via those estimates are meaningful. So one thing we've observed since the rollout of online slot games in Spain is a rebound in slot gaming at land-based casinos, arcades and bars, suggesting that the introduction of online versions of these products has not cannibalized land-based gaming in Spain. So based on this official incomplete data, Gambling Compliance estimates that land-based slot machine turnover in Spain actually grew by 21% between 2014 and 2017, following the introduction of online slots, after declining by 11% between 2011 and 2014. So rather than cannibalizing existing land-based spend, we've seen concurrent growth in online and land-based slot volumes. It's probably fair to say that the improved land-based trends predominantly reflect an improved economic situation in Spain since 2011. But looking beyond Spain, we've seen this elsewhere. Concurrent growth in land-based and online casino revenue is something that we're seeing elsewhere in Europe, most recently in Portugal. We're seeing it over in the US. New Jersey is returning to growth on the land-based side with a thriving online casino segment. So what we're seeing in Spain is not atypical, and it's just interesting when we think about assumptions about the cannibalization effect of online on land-based gaming. So one can draw the conclusion this reflects a low degree of substitution between the two channels, mainly due to product differences. Online slots carry significantly higher payout rates and typically attract a younger demographic of players, which means it's contributed to this low level of cannibalization. So there's no real conclusion there. That concludes my presentation. The final slide shows some information and contact details for Gambling Compliance. I'd be happy to take any questions from the audience about anything I've spoken about so far.
Do we have any questions about Daniel's presentation? Okay. Thank you, Daniel, very much for that. Really insightful.
Cheers.
Really insightful data there.